So let me show the learning objective for today. Participants will learn to identify the basic elements of Visio and their use, utilize connectors, create a basic diagram, and also design an office layout. Okay, so for those of you who are new to Visio, you haven't used the application yet. So let me just share with you. Visio is an application you can use to create different type of diagrams. So there are so many diagrams you can create with this application, including flow charts. We're going to be creating one today. Floor plans. We're going to have an office layout today. Org charts. If you need to create an organization chart, then this application you can use for that. If you're on IT, you want to create a network diagram, or if you need to create some sort of electric diagrams or plans, this is the application you can use to do it. All right. So getting back to the learning objective, identifying the basic elements of Visio and their use is going to be our first objective today. But let me also say that Visio is not part of the Office 365 suite. And the reason you see me opening the browser over here is because I want to take you over to the MTA IT uh, site over here, and I'm looking for the service now. Why? Because if Visio is not part of the applications that you have on your computer, you can request to have the application installed as long as you have a business need for it. Okay. So what you need to do is once you come to service now, you need to make a request, and as long as your manager is okay with accepting that request, so you can go over here to the desktop and laptop computing. Click on the plus sign, not just on the icon, but just on the plus sign. And then you're going to click on desktop, laptop, software, and then you're going to see the form over here to request Visio. Okay. By the way, that's how you also request Adobe Acrobat and Microsoft Project if you need to use those applications, right? So it's just a matter of clicking on the form, you fill in the form, and once again, if your manager gives you the approval, I think the price, yeah, price still $298.50. Once you submit it, then IT will come and install the application for you. All right. So just wanted to say that because sometimes we wonder if Office 365 is part of Visio, and it is not. All right. So getting back to what we're going to be doing today, the first objective, I'm gonna open a couple of Visio documents or templates, and I'm gonna show you around, the basic elements that you need to create a document with this application. So first two that I'm gonna talk about as what they call shapes and stencils. So shapes are these icons you can see right here on the illustration that are gonna help you create your documents in Visio, right? And these shapes, which is drawing in Visio, you're gonna see it's just kind of like dragging and dropping these so-called shapes, but they are organized into different groups or categories that they call stencils, right? So if I was doing a document right now and I see these stencils going right here on the side, I can click on any one, and depending on the stencil that I click on, then I'm going to have different shapes to create my document. All right. But let me open up the application. So I have an icon over here to quickly get to it. And let me just show you what the opening screen looks like. So like any other Office application these days, you have the home icon on the left, you got the new icon, and then you can start creating a new document from here. You can also go to open, and then of course you can retrieve a document you already saved, right? So again, like with any other Office 365 applications, if you set up OneDrive on your computer, you can go straight to OneDrive, and if you're using OneDrive, you can retrieve the file from there. If you place a file on a Teams folder, right, that means you're using a SharePoint site. Then you can also go there and browse from this icon. You can browse the different files that you have on different teams that you participate on. All right. You can also go Yeah, this one is no longer working. That's my personal OneDrive. I believe. Oh no, I can still. Yeah, I can still browse it. Okay, from within the application. Okay, and if you want to add any of your own personal OneDrive over here, you have to go over to Account. Okay, and then you click on Add Service, and then you go to Storage, and then you go to OneDrive, and you do it from there. Okay, but going back to Open, also you can retrieve a file from your hard drive if you just click on Browse, and then you go and browse the different locations. All right, but going back to the new option over here. Okay, again, with this application, you're going to get different templates. And templates is probably the easiest way to get started with your document, right? Because templates will give you the necessary tools that you need in order to create your document. So you got a list of templates over here, and this is based on the latest templates I've been using on this computer. But I can also go down here and start looking for more templates, right? So you have a huge collection over here from the Office selection. If I go over to templates, then again, I'm going to have different templates over here. The difference now is that those templates are placed into categories. So if I go and let me explore one of these categories over here. So let me first go to the maps and floor plans. So when I click on the category now, I'm going to see I'm going to see templates that relate to the particular category that I clicked on. Christina, you are unable to hear. You'll review the recording when it becomes available. That's a good choice. Okay. But let me just say this to you, Christina. If you take a picture of this, um, you just write it down, the phone number, 646-992-20110. You can call that number. So you can call on your cell phone, the office phone. When you call the number, they ask you for an event ID. So you put that number. Then they also ask you for the participant ID, but you can just press the pound key and then you can listen to me. Okay. So that would be another way for you to participate. Right. Let me go back here to, and I'm sorry, guys, that's just a question that came on the chat. All right, so I was saying within this particular category of templates, right? I can select the one that I need to use, and I'm gonna get you started with the office layout. So I'm gonna pick the template, and then I make a choice over here, or either metric or US units. I'm gonna go with US unit, and I click on create, and I have my first document right there. Okay, so what do I get out of the templates? So to begin with, the template will give me this shapes window right here on the side, right? And the shapes will place the or inside the shapes window, they will place the stencils categories that I was describing before, right? So right now I'm looking at the walls, doors, and windows, and these are the shapes that belong to this category. If I go to office furniture, then of course I'm gonna get a set of different shapes, right? And with this template, I got 5 different categories for me to use the different shapes that I find in there. Now, if I go back to wall, doors, and windows, the way I was saying before, the way that you draw in Visio, most of the time is just by utilizing these shapes. All you have to do is just drag and drop into the canvas over here. And then, of course, depending on the shape that you selected, then you're going to see different functions in there. Like this one is used for a space that initially counts as 100 by 100 square feet, but then, of course, I can resize it. Okay, if that's because I have different dimensions, I can resize it and I can do it manually like this. And you notice that as I do my resizing, then the numbers will adjust right there on my shape. Okay. Also, I can do I can repositioning by dragging, right? But I can also do my resizing over here with another tool that I'm going to show you now. So now I'm going to take you over from the home tab. We're going to go over to the view tab over here. And there's one command over here, or one tool called the task pane. So let me click there. These are just additional windows that you can have right here on your drawing window. So the one that I want to enable now is this called size and position. So let me open it up. Okay, once the size and position opens, then I gotta go there with the mouse. So you see how when I place the mouse, the window opens. When I move the mouse away from it, or I click away from it, it closes, right? So let me do it again. Open, and then it closes. If I want this window to remain open all the time, then what I need to do is just turn off the auto hide option. I can do that by clicking on this icon, so I can always see this window. All right, and as I was saying, this window over here allows me to change the dimension of my space. So if I want this to be, let's say, 14 instead of 12, I can do that, and then my shape over here is resized. Another thing that comes with this particular template is a menu. So if you look at right here at the top, you see this plan option over here. That is going to go away as soon as I close this template, or if I open another one. As a matter of fact, if I go to File, I click on New, and now I start with a blank drawing. See, the blank drawing will not get me any shapes on the side. It will not give me the additional menu either. Okay, so like I say, it's always a good idea to get started with your documents by using a template. So let me close this over here and go back to the one that we were all working on. Let me close the size and position for now. We'll come back to it later. All right. So another thing that I want to do here is just utilize the menu, right? So if I go over to plan, one of the options over here, look at the first one, convert to walls. What this is going to do for us is once you click OK here, this space, the perimeter of the space is going to be changed into walls. So watch as I do over here. Okay. And why is this important? Because if later on you need to attach another shape over here, let's say a door or a window, right, that goes on the outline of your the border of your room, or then all you need to do is grab that shape. So let's say I get a window, and then I move it, and it will perfectly attach to the walls of your office layout. Okay, so that was the advantage of doing the conversion over here to walls. So that's just to get you started. Once again, I selected a template. I'm looking at the different shapes that I have available for me to start doing my drawing. Yes, there are some other commands that you can use for here, but for now, let's just get started with the shapes. Now, if with this template, there is a shape that I don't find on the different stencils that are given by the template, I can always go over here where it says more shapes, and then I can look at different categories and then add different stencils to my document. So if I was to go, let's say, maps and floor plans right now, if I go to building plans, you notice over here that some of these stencils are already checked, of course, because those are the ones that were added to the template. If I wanted to add, let's say, the cabinets stencil over here, so now I have another stencil over here added to the document, and then I can start making selections and utilizing those shapes. Okay. The other thing that I'm going to do over here, but this is just me, I like to always have this list in alphabetical order. So what I can do is just point to the last stencil that I added, and then I drag and I put it all the way there above the cubicles. Okay. So, but that's just me. It bothers me to not to have this in descending order. There is another option over here. No, that's all they have for these particular templates. Okay, so as far as templates goes, again, you got shapes, and this particular one has its own menu. So let me open another template now. Let me close this. Let me go File, Close. And no, I don't want to save this. Okay. And let me go back to File, New, so I can look at my templates. And let me use one of the templates that we're going to do an exercise on later on. That will be the basic flowchart. So again, I pick the template. I select the US units, click on create, and I have a new document right now. And once again, this particular template will have a different selection of stencils. As a matter of fact, there are only two over here. Well, one additional thing they added to this template is the quick shapes. Okay, so what is the quick shapes? Visio will put some shapes over here, the ones that it thinks that I most likely going to be using, or the ones I'm going to be using more often with this document, right? Now, if I go back to the other stencils, right, one of the uh, one of the shapes that is already part of the quick shapes, I can do a right click and I could say, hey, I want you to remove this from my quick shapes stencil, right? Or one that is not on that list that you think you're going to use repeatedly over this document, you can do a right click, and then you can just simply say, add this to the quick shapes, all right? So the quick shapes is a template that wasn't on the Office layout, but is right here on the flowchart. This particular template doesn't have a personal menu or its own menu as the previous one. So that's just the thing that I want you to notice over here. The orientation for the document over here is landscape, as you can see right there. And I think that's the only thing that's different from the two templates. So let me show you something over here with this template. So let's grab some of the shapes that you normally use with a flow chart. So if you're creating a flow chart, okay, on a flow chart, your first shape will always be the start end. So let me get a copy of it. Just drop it right there, okay? So as I was doing before with the Office layout, just a matter of dragging and dropping the shapes on your document. I could also make a copy of this one because my flowchart must begin with this one and it have to end with the same type of shapes, right? So I can grab another copy, or the one that is selected over here, I can use a shortcut, which I'm going to use over here. That will be the control key with the letter D as in duplicate, and that will easily make a copy of the shape. So instead of right click copy, right click paste, you can use control D and then you make a copy, right? And the copy, I'm going to put it right here at the very end. Now, with this particular type of drawing flowchart, right, most likely you're going to have to add text to each one of these shapes, right? So how do you add text to shapes on a document? All you need to do is just click on the shape and then start typing the text that you want to add to it. Okay, so let's say that I was creating over here a flowchart for a process. Let's say the process of create a new project in my teams, right? So step number one will be for a team member. So I'm going to type that step over here, a team member. And you notice how when I start doing my typing over here, then Visio will zoom in so I can see what I'm typing, because you saw how small the shape was because I had it zoom in into that particular shape. But when I start typing the text, of course, I'm going to be able to see what I type. Okay, so step number one, a team member suggest, I'm going to put a space there, team member space, suggest a project. All right. So what I need to do after I'm finished typing, don't hit the enter key, because hitting the enter key is just going to put an extra line on your text. So what you do is you just simply press the escape key, and now the text goes in right there in the shape. Okay. Why does it go right in the middle? Because when this shape was created, whomever created the shape determined that the best position for text will be right there in the middle of the shape. You may have some other shapes that when you start adding text, The text will be outside the shape on any location, but that depends on how the shape was created, right? So can you create your own shapes? The answer to that is yes. And if you do so, then you can determine where in your shape the text will appear when the user is typing text. Okay. So the next tool, next thing that I want to show you over here is how do you zoom in into this shape. So an easy way to do is by holding the Control and Shift key down. And once you do so, you notice how the mouse changes to a magnifying glass there that I can click on. And as long as I'm doing the left click, so I'm zooming in. If I do the right click, then I'm going to zoom out. So that's an easy way to zoom in and out of your document. Once again, Control Shift, and then you start doing the clicking with the mouse, left or right. Now, if you're using a Windows PC, and I guess most of us are over here, you can also, as long as you have a mouse with those scrolling wheels at the top, and this is just a Windows function more than a Visio one. So you can always hold the Control key down and then use the scroll wheel to zoom in or out as you need on your document. Okay. So once again, that's for a Windows user. I don't know if the Mac had the same function, but also there is a bar right here at the bottom. Let me just show it to you, and then of course you can use that to increase the view of your document. Okay, so and there is another one over here that I like to use is the feed page to current window. So this one over here, if you use that one, you're gonna have a full view of your document right there. Okay, so once again, this is just right now about adding text and then zooming in and out of your document. Any questions so far? All right, and I'm monitoring the chat. So if you have any question, you can put it on the chat. So let me go back to Zoom a little bit here. Oops, there's something there by mistake. Sorry. I'm gonna do Control Shift and a couple of clicks, okay? Because I want to show you something else. Now, when I click on a shape, you notice that there is one item over here. It's called the rotation tool, and I can go there and rotate my shape so easily just by using the mouse, right? Now, if it is the case that you need to rotate your text and not the entire shape, there is one tool over here and it's on the home tab. If I go to the tools group, right here, the so-called text block. So let me just point to it and click. So when I use a text block, all right, look at my mouse, see how the the cursor changed into a different shape. And when I go, I still have the rotation tool here, right? But if I do rotation now, because the text block is enabled, what I'm rotating now is the text and not the shape. Okay. Likewise, I can use this to move the text away from the shape. Okay. So once again, that is the text block tool, and it's located right here on the tool group. So I just wanted you to know about that. Let me just undo my last two steps or three steps over here so I get things back to normal. Now, one thing that you have to also be aware of, anytime that you use one of these tools right here on the tools group, it's a good idea to go back to the pointer tool, because otherwise you're going to be locked into that particular function. So I want to go back to the pointer tool right now. Okay, so I can go back and, move the shape if I need to. All right. So once again, just getting you started with the basic elements of a Visio drawing. All right. So I'm going to close this template. And again, I'm not going to save it. And I'm going to open another one because there's something else that I want to show you over here. So let me go back to new. And now I'm going to get me a copy of this basic diagram. So another template, of course, I picked the US units. All right. So once again, different templates, different collection of stencils, and different shapes within those stencils. Oh, wow. Look at this. I haven't been here in a while. So now they have smiling faces, and the neutral. Oh, okay. So I guess this is the beauty of using these applications that update themselves now and then. I hadn't seen that before. But what I wanted to show you is right here on the basic shapes, right? So what I want to do is I want to get a copy of this square shape. I'm going to drop it right there. And I'm going to make me a copy of this. I need 3 more copies of it. So I'm going to do Control D, 1, 2, 3 times, right? And then I'm going to select these shapes. Now, the way I'm going to select them is simply by going over with the mouse like this, okay? And this will allow me to use some tools over here that I have still on the home tab. But before I use them, let me do something else with these shapes. Let me get the first one of them, and I'm going to do a rotation on this shape. So I'm going to start rotating it to about 45 degrees rotation, right? So that's about 45 degrees, right? Um, I can easily tell that's 45 by the way it looks, right? But I could also look at the status bar down here, and then it will tell me that the selected shape has been rotated 45 degrees. Okay. Now, if I want to rotate a shape with more precision, let me go back to now the second shape. And instead of using the rotation tool, I'm going to bring the tool that I showed you before. Remember when I went to view, task pane, and I enabled the size and position. So I'm going to put the size and position here and say that for my selected shape now, I'm going to do a rotation of negative 22.5. Okay. I'm going to hit the enter key, and then I'm going to do 22.5 for the next one. Hit the enter key, and the last one is going to remain as is, right? So now with these shapes, what I want to do now is I want to select all of them, and I'm going to go back to the home tab because I want to show you some tools right here on the arrange group. So let me first go to the align option over here. I want all these shapes to align to the same location from left to right. So I can do left, right, or center. If I do center, then all the shapes, as you can see on the document now, they are located at the same position from left to right. They are aligned by the middle of each one of those shapes, right? I want to also do an alignment from top to bottom. So I'm going to go over here to align middle. And by doing so, you notice how they all come to the same location from the left and from the top, right? So by doing that, they are all situated at the same location. And just by doing that, it gives me sort of like a different shape right there, right? But it gets even better because I'm going to utilize, let me just select my shapes again. I'm going to utilize a command that I put right here on the quick access toolbar. Okay, this is one kind of like one of the old commands that were more easily available to you on the interface. Okay, but now these days you don't find these commands right here on any of these menus, right? So I took the time to add them to the quick access toolbar. This one is one of my favorites, the union command. And you see the description right there. What it does is it is going to create a new shape from the perimeter of multiple overlapping shapes. So out of these overlapping shapes over here, right? If I just look at the perimeter of the overlapping shape, so that would be this line right here at the border. Only with this line, then Visio is going to create a new shape for me when I use the union command. So let me just demo that for you. Let me go to union and then click, and now you have a new shape right there. Okay, so basically a shape with too many sides, right? One that you didn't have on this collection, I think the hexagon was, or the octagon have 8. I got too many more over here. So that's my own shape to use now, right? But how do I get to it? By using different shapes and then using the union command. Now, because the union is not placed on any of these tabs, how do you get it? How do you get it up there on the quick access toolbar? So let me show you. When you click on the drop down, if you go to more commands, you're going to end up on this window where you can see that these four different commands were added to the quick access toolbar. These are the original ones that you're going to see when Visio is initially installed. How do you add additional commands over here? Well, you have to go and look for them, right? So switch from popular to all commands, okay? And then what you do is, if you want to add this, I show you what the union does. So maybe you want to explore on your own what to do with the subtract or the fragment shapes, right? But in order to add it, then of course you have to go and look for it. So if I wanted to add the union right now, I will just go and click on one of them, hit the U key on the keyboard. So I get to the first one of these commands that begins with the letter U, and then I will over here find the union command. And then I can add it to my quick access toolbar. Of course, if I try to do it over here, it's going to tell me that I already have it. So I don't need to do that, but I leave these ideas over here for you to try them later. The center drawing is another one of my favorites, and let me tell you what it does. If I go to center drawing, it's going to place my drawing, whatever I have drawn so far, right there in the middle of the document. So watch it. There you go. Position right there in the document. So once again, I knew about these commands because I've been using Visio for a while. So I just wanted to show them to you. So let me close over here, and let me now go back to my PowerPoint presentation, and we just covered the identifying the basic elements of Visio. So let's move now to utilize connectors. Okay, so there will be some documents where you're gonna have to connect your shapes, right? Flowcharts are a very good sample of them. I mentioned before, if you're from IT, you want to create like a network diagram, then of course you're going to be connecting those routers to your servers and so on. So that's where connectors come into place. Just so you know, there are two different type of connectors. The one they call shape to shape, and the ones they call point to point. So let me go back to Visio, and I will do a quick demo over here. Let me go back to new and bring another copy of a flowchart, and I can demo over here the shape to shape and the point to point connectors. Okay, so let's say, let me put this in, turn the auto hide, so this window over here eventually will shrink by itself. So let me get a copy of a process over here. Let me just drop it right there. Let's say that I'm creating a flowchart where I need a process, and the next shape that I'm going to use is a decision, right? So with this particular shape, you notice how when I hover the mouse over here to the sides, you're going to see those blue arrows over here that give me a list of four different shapes to select from, right? So I said that the next one is a decision, and decision happens to be one of those four. So I just need to click, and now these two shapes will be connected. You see how easy that connection is done, right? So now you may be wondering, why is this four only, right, and not any of the other over here? So the answer to that is because these four are the first four that you see on the selected stencil, right? So if I wanted to, let's say instead of a document, I wanted to select the database icon, what I do is I drag database into the selected for the five favorite four, I would say. And then when I go over here, now the database shape is want to be one of those choices. Okay. So once again, only the four that you see right there are the ones that you can select with the arrows. Okay. Of course, you can also drag the icon and then do the connection. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. All right. But now the connection that I created over here is the one that I was showing you here as the shape to shape. Okay, so what is a shape to shape connection? Once again, a connection like this. What this connection, the way it behave is if you move this shape, so now, right now, the shapes are connected from the bottom of one to the top of the next one. But if I move it to the side, then Visio is going to redraw the connection. And now they will no longer be connected from the bottom to the top. Now they will be connected from the sides. Okay. And that's probably That's probably what you need to do with some of your connections, right? You don't care if they if your shapes are always connected from the original connecting point. So if that is the case, then shape to shape is the way to go. However, if you have shapes, let me go back here and remove the connection. If you have shapes that needs to be connected always from the original connecting point, then you have to use a different type of connectors. Okay, one option you have, if you go back to the tools group, remember I took it before for the text block. So now we're going to go there to pick the connector tool. So with the connector tool, when I select it, see what happens to the mouse. Again, it changes its shape, but now I can go and select the connection point for which from which I want to connect my shapes. So let's say I now want to go from the left of this one to the left side of the next one, and there I have my connection. Okay, but now I have what is called a point to point, not a shape to shape, but point to point. And point to point connections, the way they behave is if I move one of the shapes around. Let me just do that. But before I do it, notice what I said before also, right? Once you use one of these tools, remember to go back to the pointer tool. Okay, so you use the mouse the regular way. So I'm going to move the bottom shape. I'm going to put it on the side. Okay, but you see how Visio will redraw the connection over here, right? And now the shapes will still be connecting from the original connecting points or connection points. Okay, so again, it's your choice. It depends on the type of document that you are creating. Another way to do a point to point, let me remove this here. Okay, another way to do a point to point is if I go over here to the more shapes stencil, okay, and then I go over to Visio extras, I can use these connectors stencil collection over here. Look at all the connectors that I have right here on the side now. So one of them, the dynamic connector, I'm going to drag and drop it over here, right? So remember, with the connector, you can just go with the mouse. With the shapes, you drop the shape over here, and then you take one end, and then you attach it to whichever connection point you want to use on your connected shapes. Okay. Once again, because this is a shape, I'm sorry, this is a point-to-point connection. If I move my shapes around, then Visual will redraw the connection again, so they start connecting from the original points. All right. So no questions so far. All right. So we're having a good class. Let me just delete this and let me move over to the next objective over here, which is to create a basic diagram. Okay. Now the diagram that I have chosen to create is a flow chart. Okay, and the ending the ending document is going to look not like this over here, but if you want, I'm going to put this, by the way, I'm going to put this on the SharePoint, all these files. So if you want to see what the documents should look like, let me see the project proposal. It's going to look something like this. Let me just have the full view over here. Okay, so this is the process to begin a new project, right? So starting with, um, team members suggesting the project, then the teams get together in a meeting. They decide if the idea is good. If it is good, then they continue over here developing. If it isn't, then the team rejects the idea. If more information is needed, then you see how the flow goes back to the team discussing the idea after the team member goes and do a new research and propose the idea again. Okay, so this is what we're supposed to create. I'm just going to get you started with a few of these shapes over here. So let me close it. But once again, this file is going to be available for you if you want to finish the whole project. All right. So with the flow chart template, let me go back to the basic flow. Can you add a legend to an old? Oh, yes, yes. Okay. Um, Yes, I don't wanna divert to that because time is limit over here. But yes, Denise, you can do that on an org chart, and the templates or the org chart are very very detailed, right? There is even one option where if you have the the organization, your group organization on an Excel file, right? As long as you have all the names, the title, and who reports to who, right? So you have the person that you report to. You can even import this information over to an org chart. All right. We may have in this quarter, we may have a class right here at 130 Livingston, at least 4 hours. And if you see it on the schedule, we do a little bit of org chart in that class, Denise. All right. So, but let me start here with the one that I have for today. So let me get a start end because that's how I said before that the flow charts begin and end with. Let me get another copy right here at the bottom, and you see how those grids automatically help me align my shapes in place, right? So let me click on again. The first step over here is that a team member suggests a project. Okay, and then I show you this before, right? So I just need to press escape. All right, and that's the way that you're gonna add text to your shapes. And I'm gonna do the control shift with a couple of clicks so I can see better my document right there on the screen. Okay, the next step on this flow chart is that after the member suggests the project, then the team discusses this idea in a meeting. Okay, so for that, I'm going to need the process, and this is the shape of the process. I'm going to click on the process, and then I'm going to type the text that goes with it, and it is that the team discusses, oops, too many S's, uh, the idea in a meeting. Again, I'm done with my typing. I just press escape and then I got the shape with the text that I need there. Now, for the next one, okay, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back. So now you know the deal, right? You click, you point to the arrow and then you select whichever of the four you want to select. But this time around, I'm just going to point, I'm going to point to the arrow and I'm going to click without making a selection. So watch over here as I point and click. All right. And you see when I clicked, then the decision was the shade that was selected automatically for me. I like to ask you why. Why do you think, why is it that Visio selected the, decision and not the start end or the process or the document? So any ideas on that? Why was decision automatically chosen by Visio? And I will see you answers in the chat if you have any idea. Thinking about why did they pick natural progression? That's oh wow, that's one of the best answers I have gotten so far in this class. I always ask that question, Anthony. That's a very good answer. It's not the right one though, but I like that because it is pre-selected, Denise. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna give it to Denise. I went quickly over here, right, and kind of like did that trick on you. I did a click before process is typically followed by a question. That's all. Wow. I wish I have more time to is intuitive and find the most common next. Wow, wow. I love all these I love all these answers over here. But once again, yeah, Denise had the right one, right? If I select one of these shapes, right? Then I go and I click on the arrow instead of making a selection. Whatever is selected, that's what Visio is going to go by with, right? So let me just hit the database over here, okay? And then let me just do a click, and then you see how the database was the selected one because that was a chosen one because that was the selected one. I guess it's just ways to move a little bit faster when you're doing your creating your documents, right? All right. So this one over here, the text for it is now the participants decide, is it a good idea? Right? So if it is, then the process continues, right? So if it is, then you move down here. If it isn't, then you're gonna say, okay, so this is the end of it. Go all the way down and the process. What about if they find that, or they decide that there is not enough information, right? If that is the case, then they're gonna tell the team member, go back, do a little bit more research, and then once he's finished, then send it back to the group so they get together again, and then they make a different, hopefully a different decision, right? But this is kind of like just to illustrate the process over here. So what you need to do is just continue adding the needed shapes to the flow chart. What I'm going to do here though is I'm going to get me, because the next one, as you saw, there are three options over here. So I'm gonna give me one of this and make two copies, because there's something that I want to show you in here. Let me go back to the full view, one page full view, and I'm gonna put this guy here, one purposely off alignment, right? So I'm gonna show you a quick technique over here to put all these three at the same, what kind of like what I did before with the remember the four shapes that I rotated, right? So if you have a selection of shapes and you want to put them at the same distance from the top, one option you have here, when you go to align, you go align top, and now you see they are at the same distance from the top. Okay, now the alignment shape that they go by is the one that have the thicker border over here, which is usually the first one that you select, right? If I go with the mouse, then this is my first selected shape. If I go individually just by clicking and then holding Control and Shift, now you see that the thicker border is with the first one that I click on, right? So if this one is, let's say this one is a little bit off alignment, oops, sorry about that. Let me bring it down a little bit right there. Okay. And let me make the selection again. This, and this. When I go to align from the top, yeah, they will go to the top or even the middle, but based on the first shape that I selected. Okay. So I want to share that with you. The other thing is, let's say this shape is a little bit towards the left, right? So now there is not the same space in between. That's something that you can correct with the position over here. Okay, so under position, you say that you want to distribute the space horizontally. Once you do so, then there's the same space in between those shapes. Okay, but wait, it gets even better. Now that I have all of this selected, I can use an option over here to group them. So once I create a group, right, as a group, now I can align the three of them with the decision shape that I have above. So let me go and first select the decision shape. Then I'm going to hold the control key and click on any of these shapes. Because they are grouped, then what's going to happen is that all of them will be selected. Now I go to align, and as I did before, now instead of a top to bottom, I do a left to right. I can do left. I I do the align center because I want them to be from the center of the group to the center of the first selected shape. Okay, so quick, techniques over here that you can use just to have the proper alignment on your document. Okay, one thing I want to say about having a group. Okay, having a group is great because once you select one shape, you first select the group, and any formatting that you do in there then applies to all members of the group, as you can see right here. Okay, however, if you want to do something with one particular shape on the group, so you first select the group and then you click again on that shape on the group that you want to select. So now that you have that particular shape selected, then you can go and apply whichever formatting you want for that particular shape. Okay. Now, the last thing that I want to say with this template is something that is common for us in Office, right? let's say I have some formatting that I have with this process over here. Let's say I pick a different uh, a different style over here, and I went to the font type, and I pick, let's say, pick sort of well, I'm gonna stick with something that I can read. So let's stick with black, but I changed the size of the text, okay, and I made it. I have it bolded, so I ended up with the white one, but that's fine. Okay, so I made some changes to this shape. Now I want those changes to replicate with the other processes that you see over here, right? So you guys are probably familiar with this so-called format painter, right? So all you need to do is just go over to the format painter. Okay, so now Visio is creating the formatting on this shape. And if I go and I apply to one of the shapes over here, now because the shapes are member of a group, then again, you could easily copy that formatting to all the members of the group. Okay. If you have wanted to copy to only one, right, and you want to use the format painter, one option you have is to remove the group before you apply the formatting. Okay. So the option you have to remove your group, you go back to group, okay, and now you select ungroup, and you no longer have a group with these shapes. You see me clicking on them, and then there is no group over, no longer a group over there. So I just do single selections. Okay. And just to finish with this one, it looks like this document, because there are so many more shapes coming over here, instead of the use of landscape, I need to go over to portrait. So if I go to design, then switch to portrait, that will take care of that. Okay. Now that all the shapes are like off the center, I can go back and use the command that I showed you before, center drawing, and you see how easily that help you relocate all the shapes in the middle of your document. Okay. So a couple of different tips over there, although all I needed to show you here was just how to create the basic diagram. So let's go to the last one over here, the office layout. So let me go back to Visio. All right, close this. Still have a few minutes over here. So let me just go and open a new template. And of course, I'm going to use the office layout that we started the class with before, right? So you remember with the office layout, so first thing that you may want to do here is bring a copy of the space, okay? And again, if you have the dimensions for the space you're going to be using, then you can use the size and position. So let's say it's going to be 20 feet, and let's say it's going to be 20 by 14. So you can use the size and position over here. As I said before, if you don't care so much about the dimension, then you can do your resizing there. Just keep in mind when you do the resizing, then the numbers will adjust right here on the size and position. Okay. But one thing that I want to do is I want to go, as I did before, I want to go back to the plan menu and then convert this space to walls. So now that I have walls over here, then I can start using some of the shapes that I'm going to need on this drawing. So the first one is a door that is going to go right here at the bottom. So let me look for a door. I'm going to first drop it in there, and then I'm going to put, oops, sorry about that. Want to make sure I have it selected, and then I will drag it and place it right there at the bottom of the room, right? And this door, you see how it perfectly attached right here to that wall. So one of the options I have with this particular shape is if this door opens to the outside rather than to the inside as it's shown right now, I can just do this and then swing the door open to the outside. Okay, if it opens from the right and not from the left, I have an option over here. If I do a right click, look at the first two options at the bottom, right? So you have the option to reverse the left and right opening of the door. Very simple, right? You notice also when I went up there, when I do a right click, you also have the option to reverse the in and out opening. So without me having to drag, I could have done that also with that option. Okay. So some of these are like really very detailed shapes, okay, that you can get to use in there. Is the size and position only available to this particular template? Uh, Denise, no, no. The size and position is something that you just either uh, turn, I'm sorry, show it or hide it, right? So I could be on another template, one of the ones that we used before, right? And if it isn't there because it wasn't there before, you can just go to View and then you go to Task Panes and then you just enable it. Oops, I picked the wrong one. Size and position, and then it comes right here. Okay, and then it's gonna stay there on Visio until you decide to close it. Yep. All right, so let me close this here and go back to the office layout. Okay, what else do I need over here? I need a panel that is gonna go across my room. So panels, I saw it. I believe I saw it on the cubicles. Stencil. Yeah. So there's a panel that I'm going to put over here, and it's going to run across right there from the middle of my room from one side to another. Okay. Of course, if you have the dimensions exactly where it goes, then be better to use the size and position. All right. What else do I need over here? Let me go to the office furniture. One of my favorite shapes over here is this multi-chair round table, right? What I like about it is that initially it comes with 6 chairs, right? But as you start resizing it, then you can go down to 5. If you push a little bit more, 4, and it comes all the way to 3 chairs, right? So as you resize it, you're gonna change the number of chairs that go with this table. So that's something else that I need. Right here at the top. Oh, there should be a door, or rather I'm going to have an opening right here. So let me go back to wall doors and windows, and I'm going to grab a copy of this opening, place it right there in between. Okay, so that indicates that there's an opening over here. Of course, I could resize it if I want to make it wider and so on. Now, for the top section, I'm going to have a couple of cubicles and computers over here. So if I go to cubicles, there is a very good one over here. If you have to do something like an office layout, right? So this one, see how it contains the space, the desk, the credenza over here, the computer. You could rotate it, right, and say that's gonna go right there on that corner. The only problem with this one is that as you start resizing it, as we will have to do right now, sometimes you may not be able to resize it enough for the space that you're using. Of course, I could push this down here, right? But they may be an inconvenient at some point. So if that's the case, right, you can select all these elements individually. Let me just delete the whole. Oops. Shape. So like for here, I could go and pick a copy of the corner surface, right? And then rotate it. And then I will place it right here in the corner. Okay. Now I'm gonna do another shape over here. Let me go back to office equipment, or rather office furniture, because I need a copy of this chair. And I'm gonna show you something else over here, right? Once you start combining or sort of like overlapping shapes, what's gonna happen is something like what you're about to see here. So you want to indicate that the chair goes under the desk, right? But once you place it there, initially it's gonna show over the desk. Why? Because this is the last shape that we added to the document, right? And every shape that you put in there is gonna go at a different layer, right? So this share is at the highest layer of your document. What you need to do now is you need to do a right click on the shape and then pick this option over here that lets you reposition that shape at a different layer. So if you say send to back is going to send it back one layer on the layer hierarchy, if you wish. And then, but if you say send backward, it's going to send you to the last layer on the collection, right? So for this particular case, I can use either one, but that's the difference between these two, right? So let me just send it backward. So now the chair is under the desk, and then you can keep doing your drawing on this document. At the end of the day, your office layout should look like the one that I'm just showing right there on the screen. You're going to put this sofa, you're going to complete it with the chair, the laptop, and the, oh, this is a laptop. I was wondering why there was no mouse over there, but this is a regular desktop, and this one is a laptop, doesn't need the mouse. Okay, so that's, wow, look at the timing, 2:01. That's all the time that we have for today. So again, I thank you for being here. Happy New Year again, and glad that we are back at training.